Okay, so welcome everybody, and welcome back to our studios. So we are actually going to have a fantastic talk during this Imaging USA 2021 virtual show and during this live broadcast from Castelciconi, Italy. By the way, I can't say it enough. I'm waiting for you to come over. Some of you already have been there. Some of you will be soon there, as soon as possible, of course. We all know what's going on, but today we want to thank you first and foremost, because with your career, your profile, your aspirations, your passions, you have contributed heavily to a better industry. And secondly, because we want to take this opportunity to spread a great positive message. That's what people need now. We want to, to be ready for what's coming next. Yeah. And who can be better than you guys, defining the path, leading or helping to lead our community towards the next future. So Mauricio is here with me, of course. And you know him quite well, I assume. So Mauricio, what can we say about today? We are talking about a lot of stuff.
Yes, so we will be talking about community, longevity, and building trustful relationships. But before everything, I want if you guys can introduce yourself and just talk a little bit about who you are and what is going on right now in your life.
Let's go clockwise. So Blair, let's start with you.
Okay, so I'm Blair DeLaubenfels. Just been a photography fanatic for a couple decades. Started out as a wedding photographer in 1999 and shot for about 7 years, which overlapped with the launch of Junebug Weddings, which I owned for about 8.5 years before I sold it to investors several years back. Then I had the really great experience of going traveling for several years and came back and launched World's Best Wedding Photos, which I own now. And it's, I actually launched it 2 weeks before the start of COVID. So, whoa, what good timing. And it's been an interesting year to be flexible, to take in all this new information and just try to, keep moving forward. And so I think today's topic is really great about just how to stay positive and creative no matter what your challenge is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Erin.
Yeah, hey guys. I'm Erin Chrisman, one of the owners of Chrisman Studios. And this is my 18th year in wedding photography, kind of crazy to think about. We used to be in San Francisco. We moved to Charleston, which is on the East Coast of the US about 5 years ago. And we were exclusively wedding photographers for a long time, but I'd say in the past, since we've been here, we've branched out into all kinds of photography. So we've been doing it all, and that's where we stand right now. Headshots, pet photography, family photography, you name it. So yeah.
Thank you, Erin.
Martino.
Hello, I'm Martino Buzzi. I'm Italian. I was born in Milan, and then I moved in Spain 20 years ago. I worked as a photographer in different fields, such as event photography, fashion, portraits, until in around 2008, when there was the big crisis, I started enjoying and discovering wedding photography. And that was really, I enjoyed very much wedding photography, and I continue working in this field. But apart from this, 6 years ago, I created an association of wedding photographers here in Spain, which I enjoy very much, bringing events and contests among the photographers.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Daniel.
Everybody, my name is Daniel Kudish. My wife, Davina, and I, we photographed weddings for about 12 years. We built a career based on destination weddings, so we traveled to over 30 countries during that time. We retired from weddings in 2018 because we had launched Salon, which is a post-production company for photographers, and it was growing at a rate that was faster than we could keep up with. So we felt like we had accomplished a lot of things as wedding photographers, and it was time to move on to other projects. And so that's where we are today. We're still running Image Salon and spending a lot of time with our family, with our kids, and traveling for pleasure. Yeah, that's where we are today.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you. Ross.
Hey, I'm Ross. I'm currently leading the design team. We create a lot of websites for photographers. I started 14 years ago in the industry when I was a teenager, and started there and became a wedding photographer for 5 years, but always had a passion for design and branding. So I went back to that. And in the last years have been working and collaborating with a lot of communities inside the industry. And that's where we are today, moving forward with new tools and products for wedding photographers.
Thank you, Ross.
Thank you so much. Luca.
Good evening to everybody. I'm Luca. I'm not a photographer. I love photography, highly respectful of photography, highly respectful of all the things that Dario has created in the past years in the industry. I work as an independent consultant, and I help quite an important brand in the camera sector, in the camera industry, to evolve with some of the brand activities and nurture the next generation of professionals. I helped redesigning, and Dario was with me, an ambassador initiative at the European level, which we have extended last year to the Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Now the brand counts about 115 ambassadors, and 10 of them are wedding photographers, because obviously it's one of the most relevant sector, one of the true professional sector that we have in the industry. And also the conception of the wedding photography as a professional with other type of requirements than the traditional enthusiast or journalist or documentary photographer. I keep on repeating that I do the most beautiful job in the world, because every day I liaise with some of the most important professionals in the world, and continuous form of inspiration and evolution and trends into the market.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Luca. Huy.
Yes. First of all, thank you. Yeah, thank you for including me. My name is Huy Nguyen. I live in Washington State in the United States. I was a photojournalist and a wedding photographer for many years. And now I am the admin of Fearless Photographers. We've been around for 10 years, and it's a directory and a community of wedding photographers.
Thank you.
You know, that's what I do these days, and it's my passion to encourage photographers to strive for their best, do the best work, and serve our clients. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. So what I see, we all are in the industry of photography, and the first thing I would love to know is like, we all come from. At some point, we, between our life and everything, somehow we end up doing photography or being involved in this world of photography. So I would love to know, like, how do you fall in love with photography? Like, what was this sparkle? What was this thing that really make you feel like, this is the thing that I want to do? This is something that really charge me or give me, a way to see the world in a different way. So I want to know you guys and for everybody to listen to us, you start your path somehow related to photography. So why you love photography? What is the thing that make you fall in love with it?
I can go first if you guys want. So for me, I got into photography. Yeah. I got into photography because my dad was a photographer too. So at the age of 13, 14, he got me a camera, and I don't want to say I was forced into it, because he tried with my older sister, so he tried to force her into it, and did work, and then he tried with me and it worked. But I did fall in love with it, so it's not like I did it out of obligation. But so I kind of grew up with it, and then it was a natural career path for me. But one thing that I realized since I stopped shooting weddings in 2018, and then my relationship with photography sort of went from passion as a teenager, and then really profession for all of my 20s and early 30s. And then for a couple of years, I almost stopped taking pictures. And now I'm kind of rediscovering, this love for photography. So I have like this very fresh new perspective. And the thing that I love so much about it is it keeps me so present in the moment. Like when I have my camera and I'm observing what's going on, I'm trying to create beautiful pictures. I'm not thinking about my problems, earlier in the day or anticipating things that I have to do tomorrow. I am literally just connecting with, what is happening in front of me or through the lens. And it might seem like I'm distracted, not appreciating, whatever my kids are doing or whatever else I'm photographing. But for me, that's a way to really be present and see it, because I'm analyzing things as they come through the camera. And then just the sheer pleasure of pressing the shutter and knowing that you recorded, that moment. It's, yeah, that's for me, like really the love for photography.
Makes a lot of sense.
I love that. Yes.
Well, I can tell you, I fell in love with photography purely by accident. And we has heard this story many times, but my dream was to be a writer, and that's what I started doing. Trained for it in high school and college. When I got out of college, I was a newspaper reporter for probably 5 years. I thought it would be 50 years, but I started dating a photographer at the paper who was amazing. And I just became very interested in the mechanics behind his photographs. Like, we're looking at the same thing. He's creating something that I'm not seeing with my own eyes. And so I started helping him he left the newspaper to become a wedding photographer, an event photographer. And I would just go with him and help out, so I started holding reflectors and setting up softboxes, and he gave me a camera and put it on program mode and said, see what you can do. And just at that point, I was still like, I'm just helping him out. I'm not really into this. I'm a writer. But after a while, I'm like, I don't like the way my photos look. I want to make magic too. Like, I want to know how to change things up, and how do I do that? And so he helped me set up on manual. And from then I was like, it opened up a whole new world where I could control everything. And from then the experiments really began. And of course, when I met Ben, that took everything to a whole different level. And I fell in love with photography even more because he showed me what was really possible. So that's my story.
I love it. Yeah, love is connected to photography always. Love it.
Right, for me, twice.
I'll go ahead here. I can attest to both Erin with Ben and Daniel. Daniel and Davina actually photographed my brother's wedding. So I got to see them both work in action behind the scenes. And I remember in my first year of opening my design business, Ben did a workshop in London and literally blew everyone away. Everyone would be walking and there'd be a tiny crack of light come through a street, and he would be taking these photos, and we're like, where's Ben? And then you would look and he would show on the display what he took, and everyone was like, so almost like if we could put a cat gif in here, it would be that would be what it would be. So and it was amazing. And I mean, my background is that my mom used to do charity work in Eastern Europe, so I'm actually based in Eastern Europe right now. So I started doing more business to create profit to do charity work, so I spent most of my time between that. But photography, at least when I entered into it, it was more digital. And so doing design, there's a long process. And when you're looking at being able to have transferable knowledge, when you're doing photography, it's quick, it's instant. It was like the social media of gratification. You could see, you could take, and you could explore, and you could do many things. And then you could bring a montage and create a story and a narrative behind it. And that's what I found interesting inside wedding photography, being able to have a chronological order that you could go with and then be able to explore. And whether you're doing portraits and trying to learn the best how to do that, or doing what Ben had always said, never stay in the same place for more than 5 seconds and constantly moving around the church or whatever it may be. Or spending 40 minutes looking for about one image at night. I mean, there was just so many different things to learn and to do. However, I ended up moving away from photography because I just love strategy, and the more technical design and web got, and working with corporate clients, I got I just fell in love with that a lot more. And very similar to Dan, whereby I quit wedding photography, I didn't do anything for 4 years until I ended up having my own son. And then I realized that I have this monumental opportunity to take photos again, and came back in. And so I think that photography is something whereby in any case, everyone's involved, regardless of whether you end up making money from it or not. And there are a lot of regrets for that period, not taking photos, frankly. But with that, that's my story anyway. So thank you.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's really photography opened the vision to explore and the possibilities, and help you to see so many things. Just like, regardless of the business side of things, just the exercise of doing, to me, is almost therapy. So yeah, please, whoever wants to jump next.
Can I go next? For me, that's a little bit the same as Erin. Also, becoming a photographer was like a little bit an accident. I was really decided, I really loved the cinema, and my idea was to become a director. I was not yet sure what exactly, but I had clear cinema, video making. That was my route. So I had my little video camera. I think it was with cassette in that time, and I just brought my video camera everywhere. And I just had I went traveling with my girlfriend, and we came for a casualty. We came traveling here in Spain. And we just left our car with everything inside, and just went and eat something behind the corner. And somebody just opened the car and stole us everything, including the video camera. So this is the accident, because I did not have any more my video camera. And so I started taking a photo camera that I had there, but I was not using so much. And that was incredible. That was really like life-changing. I started using this and took some pictures that I still remember today. And then I remember one moment when I realized somehow photography could be seen as a version more compressed, because as a filmmaker needs a lot of frames to tell a story. A good photographer with just one frame can tell the story. And so I changed my mind. Before, I thought photography was like inferior respect of filmmaking. And suddenly I realized maybe I was wrong. Maybe photography can be better. And well, that's the way I still feel somehow.
It's a happy accident.
Yeah. And also, a film is always asking you something in exchange. You need to, give 1 hour of your time to see a film. And that's somehow photography is more generous. It does not ask you an hour of your time. It just 1 second, and you've got the story. And so, well, that's the story how I started. And so I always remember, a bad thing, it's not always a bad thing. You must wait, and maybe further on, people who stole my video camera, I own them something.
Yes.
That's it. And well, of course, always learning. And I also feel the same as somebody told, that when you have the camera in your hands, you're somehow completely free, and you can move wherever you want, and you really have this possibility to create in a very quick way things that you see, and that's really marvelous.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I think if we're lucky enough to get to do the job that we want to do, it's because if we can do it, it's because it suits our personality somehow. And I think for wedding photography, or just photography in general, there are a few reasons why I ended up being a photographer. One is I really enjoyed problem solving. I like to just see a scene as a situation that I need to solve, and figure out how to solve it by making a good picture. I like that. And number two, I enjoy showing people what I can do, something different, maybe kind of show off, but I enjoy showing people results. I enjoy that.
Right.
And the last reason is I enjoy hiding behind the camera. When I go to I'm behind the camera. I got a job to do. I don't have to talk to anyone. That suits me great. So that's why it became a wedding photographer.
I love that, man.
So I
Yes.
became a photographer sort of out of panic. So in 1999, my ex and I had a couple $1 million in Microsoft stock. He'd been working there for quite a long time, about 15 years. We sold it all and made some spectacularly stupid financial decisions before we paid our tax returns. So we basically took all this stock out of our company.
Not on a podcast. Sorry.
I mean, it was just spectacularly stupid. So we went to Europe for 9 months, and about 7 months in, we went into a cafe in Florence and realized that we had gone from having $2 million to having around 400, and we had a $600,000 tax bill to go home to. So we were completely bankrupt. And while I was there, I had purchased an F100 camera, film camera. And I had started taking pictures, which I thought I'll take some travel shots. And what I ended up taking instead was street photography and portraits, and ended up like connecting with people and saying, can I talk to you? Can I find out who you are? Can we do something? And I'm very extroverted. So I just started shooting people in Europe. And I actually, by the time I found out that I was bankrupt, I was already so excited about becoming a photographer. I wasn't even that bummed out. So I came home and went right away to the Photographic Center Northwest Fine Art School, went through that program, and about 6 months in, started shooting portraits and weddings, which was one of the ways we were able to hold on to our home as my husband tried to get work again. So it was a lucky times back then. I was able to just go boom. I had, dozens of portraits almost right away, started shooting weddings almost right away. So it was a little bit easier entry. And then launched Junebug actually as a way to help vendors in our area and people that we worked with, so that brides wouldn't, and couples, these mainly brides hiring men, but that couples wouldn't hire the wrong person. And it just turned out to be this gold list that really worked for the vendors around us. And they started calling and saying, God, I'm getting all this work from you. What's going on? And we turned it into a business, and then it became international. And what I found is that I actually liked promoting photographers better than I liked shooting, which really surprised me. But it's like, I love the people that I've been able to promote, like Chrisman's, and, they're so good. Davina and Daniel, I could never shoot like them. They just blow my mind. And so I love looking at their work. And so that's what I do. I curate all day. I promote photographers. I write for them. I, market for them. And I just love it. I just think photographers are so brave and so creative. And what's happened in the art form in the last 10 years is just, it went from being a kind of a hack thing where people in art school would be like, no way, you don't want to be a wedding photographer, to it being a really amazing art form. So it's been an exciting time and exciting time ahead.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know the story. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Mr. Luca.
Luca.
As I said, I'm not a photographer. I come from the south of Italy, city, very poor city, Naples. When I said I had interest in photography since my childhood, when I said that I wanted to embark into a profession, into studies, my mother basically killed me because this was not perceived as a profession. So go out and stop it. But I kept it into my parallel life. I had a decent career into IT and telecommunication, and I kept nurturing my passion. Before I started to buy cameras, then I started to buy books. Then I started to read the photography for what it is, and then 5 years ago, by coincidence, I joined this new project into the professional sales. And then I started to realize that beyond the element of the features related to the products, each brand has a fantastic value into the intangibles and what they are capable of transmitting. And actually, I think that the community is the leverage point because the community is a continuous source of inspiration and evolution, from the design to the product, to the way that you market the product, to the way that you present the product, to the way that you evolve the portfolio as well. And then I try to integrate, because I'm not an engineer, but supported by a strong, I mean, there are far too many engineers into the environment I live. I try to have this kind of subtle approach in focusing on new segment of audience. And currently, is all of us, we know, I mean, the camera phones, I mean, 99.9% of pictures presented on Instagram are actually shot not with the camera, but with a camera phone. When you look at the aggregation of the billion user of Instagram, close to 15% of the followers of National Geographic, they represent the largest community, and 100% of the pictures of National Geographic, on 99.5% of the pictures that are presented on their site, are actually shot by real photographers with real cameras. And I see the fact that I see the biggest opportunity now in converting camera phone users to the beauty and the importance of the denoted images that they can create with a camera. And this is what keeps me going, and that's why it makes my job beautiful.
Wow, that's impressive. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Well, I'm taking notes of everything you guys are saying. It's really amazing. Like, I really like how photography, first of all, is a way to connect, which connection is love, you know, and it helped to build, you know, relationships. How photography has been helping us to explore different visions, different way to see the world. How appreciate and also be in the moment, how really abstract ourselves and appreciate beauty or whatever we're living in and take it in, you know. Also, how do we discover ourselves, like we were saying, through photography, and how give us a comfort zone as well to be in. How also is a tool, is a tool for work, and it's a tool to grow, you know, on a personal level. You know, photography for me is therapy. Like, even if I feel sad sometimes, I'm just gonna go out around because take some pictures. And that's amazing. It's just like everything, it's I love it. And that's what I love photography because of that, because it give me always push my brain, everything to be positive, to see something beautiful. Thank you guys, that's amazing. You guys are really good. Yep.
Yeah, I was just thinking, and I'm, you know, absorbing what you have just said, and it's already a lot. I mean, here and there, in between the lines, I was just trying to imagine the other you know, some years ago, living these moments, these crucial moments, these crossroads in your life, and taking decisions. And you know, what's photography if not that? I mean, it's just that. It's just capturing these crossroads in people's life, and you know, there's nothing replicable exactly the same way, because there are always conditions that are changing. And I'm not even referring to the technical conditions, not light or posing or composition or whatsoever, but just real, the human beings be, you know, in front of your lenses. And as you can imagine, here at Graphic, we print quite a few of those stories, but each time it's a sort of spell, you know, happening in front of us. There's something there, and even if you don't know personally these people, you can see, you can perceive that there's a story, and stories are so compelling, even more so by the time that we are living now, and, you know, globally speaking. And so that's why we were trying to pivot in our conversations between community, first and foremost, because it really the sense of community. And some of you, or if I should say all of you, are working, let's say, community-wise, whether with an association, whether with a movement, whether supporting other photographers, but all of you are really deeply involved in that. That's amazing. So how do you, you know, from 1 to 10, I should say that if I ask you to rate community as a value in our business, how would you say 1 or 10 or 8 or 5, whatever? So I'm curious to know, how do you, you know, how do you consider the community word relevant for you as a photographer, as an artist, and then also maybe as an entrepreneur? Up to you.
100%, not 10, 100%. The sense of community is the aggregated power that is generated by the community, and is the way to defend, not to be individualistic. I mean, there is the artist which is individualistic and can go into the breadth, but the community gives, into the depth, but the community gives the breadth of the opportunity. And it creates a continuous compelling element of evolution and remaining actual.
I mean, community, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, I didn't want to. I was just saying community, like you said, is everything. And without community, you're out there on your own, just winging it, trying to figure things out. And we all know that you never stop learning. And so without community, you just stop. And so, I mean, this panel right here has 3 representatives on it of some of the communities I'm in. I mean, Graphistudio, World's Best Wedding Photos, Fearless. Fearless has been there with me since the beginning. So it's just amazing to me in those communities. Like, you have a question, you have everyone on Facebook or whatever, however your groups are organized, you ask a question about anything, like your camera's malfunctioning, a Lightroom question, like I'm going to this new location, has anyone been there? Everyone jumps in like ready to help you. And there's no element of competition, like, oh, I didn't get a wedding in that place, so I'm not going to help them. It's just like, no, we want to help each other. And that is just, it blows me away every time, that selfless drive to just, we're like help each other get better all the time. So it's invaluable to me.
Yeah. Definitely.
I miss the conferences so much. You know, people have come together online, and you know, I know, but I've had such an amazing time, like WPPI and at the Fearless conferences, and you know, been able to go out and speak around the world, which is just, you know, I feel so lucky to be able to do that. And every time I get in person with people, especially, it's just phenomenal. So I feel like I wouldn't have been able to do absolutely anything in my career if it wasn't for the people around me. Like it wouldn't even, nothing. It's been the people on my team who have helped me run my businesses. I shot with a partner when I began. I couldn't have launched World's Best Wedding Photos without the friends I already had in the industry and the support that I had from them. There's just zero way in this competitive market. And so I just think relationships are pretty much all that matters in life. And one of the reasons I like to support photographers is they're an unusually wonderful group of people, so supportive of one another. And that doesn't go across all wedding genres. You know, I've worked in 21 categories that I had on Junebug, from DJs to planners to florists. And that sense of just wanting to be in each other's corner and see people succeed, there's nothing like the photography community for that.
Wow. That says a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
The community in wedding photographers is also so mature. Even say designers, because now that I'm also a father, for example, and when I first started being inside the wedding industry, I was 18. So, and going through that whole, you know, your whole process from starting out until where you are even now, there's always a category, whether it's at a conference, whether it's just meeting friends or meeting some of your best friends over the years, being able to always find people that you connect on. And whether you're going to certain conferences and meeting people that are more hobbyists rather than actually professionals or dependent on that income, you can always find this kind of like bridge. So it's like going skiing. If you're going skiing or boarding, you're at the slopes and you're meeting people with a common interest, but then you're able to connect on a much deeper level. And so that's where it's a very multifaceted and diverse community that we have, not just from online Facebook social groups, Clubhouse now, or some of, you know, the platforms that honestly, in my opinion, have led the way in the digital revolution of the markets, you know, for example, like Fearless. So with that, they really have brought a lot of people together. And one of the unique things, specifically being European, is whenever everything first started, a lot of folks were going to the US and coming back to Europe and thinking, how do we make this work in Europe? Because most folks don't want to share business secrets and tips, and being able to have those communities within Italy, France, Germany, the UK, Ireland, you know, even Russia, Poland, Spain, Portugal, and so forth. It took a lot of time, and the community was not there together, and there was a community of people with a forward-thinking approach or a vision. It just wouldn't have happened. So I definitely have seen that change in the decade plus being inside the market in this continent specifically, and it's been incredible. So without community, that just wouldn't have been feasible unless it was some hocus pocus magic. So
and I just wanted to add another little quick tidbit in there. I don't mean to speak again, but we with Fearless took it to an even deeper level. Like he really, what do you say, put his money where his mouth is with community and support by creating these lists through Fearless of lists of, if you need a second photographer anywhere in the world, you can go and find one there. If you suddenly got sick and there's no way you can come to a wedding, there's a list of, it's basically a calling tree of sorts where you can find someone to replace you in your town. And I've seen this work, many photographers and even us when we were in a crunch. So that's huge.
Yes.
Yeah, I think many photographers, you know, they start with the communities for education, for connection and learning in the beginning, and we all want to share information. But from what I've seen, you know, what happens, we end up being friends, and we end up connecting on a more personal level. And so it starts professionally. People join because they want to learn something or they want to be part of something. And then we end up being friends, being very close friends. People develop friendships and relationships. So it's kind of grown beyond the professional level. And I've seen that a lot, especially in these COVID times when people need support and they find that that support, that camaraderie in the communities that they've been a part of. And I'm really, I admire the communities that I've seen that offer that in this time.
Absolutely. I agree with almost everything said until now. I just wanted to add how I feel community. I think wedding photographer is one of the most beautiful works in the world, but also it's not an easy work, a lot of difficulties. So that's why community, having somebody else who is facing the same problems, for me personally has been really something that helped me a lot. I mean, until I reached some of my first workshops with, for example, I remember Daniel Aguilar, who is an incredible person. I was so surprised about meeting people, and before meeting those people, seeing their photo for me, I already had an idea in my mind of how those people would have been in real life. And I was so surprised because so many times the idea I've got in my mind before just seeing the photo is so similar on how those people are. I don't know if it's just for me, but I feel there is a lot of transmission with a picture, of course, and it's really incredible. I feel a lot of photographers and the good ones, the most of them, I must say, they are like good persons. It's my personal experience. I've asked help to a lot of super good photographers, and I was so surprised because all of them, almost all of them, they answered me, and they were always very helpful and trying to help, you know. And so I think we are like a little bit, all of us, in this great mission, which is like spreading art and bringing also happiness into the house of the people. I feel this is something that unites us. It makes us like a bondage. And just finally, wanted to say that sometimes like photographers are in a bad mood, low energy. And another thing that in community, I think also those awards that we've got out there sometimes really help a lot people, because you feel like somebody else is feeling the same and giving you a little prize. I mean, it's just a way to recharge your motivation. And so that's another great thing of community.
I just wanted to echo everything that was said, you know, and if, you know, today, I think all of us can log on to Facebook, and, you know, if we have a question or we have a problem, we're on our way to a wedding and, you know, we're getting a flat tire, we need some kind of help. Like we all know that within like 5 minutes, 12 different people are going to answer us and, provide their help. And I think that's really the beauty of this community. And especially like during the past year, which has been a little bit crazy. I think it has been beautiful to see how everyone has helped, just share their stories and their struggles and how they're coping with cancellations and postponements and all that. In all of the photo groups online, we just see how people are open and willing to share their stories. So like, to answer your question, I think community is everything in this industry.
Yes.
I do have a question for the community of photographers. Dario, may I?
Sure, of course.
Okay, no, how do you envision 2021 and 2022 will be? I mean, obviously none of us can read the future, but it looks like, from postponement, we are going to plan additional postponement. So, and it's possible also that the industry in a couple of years will be completely different from the one that we had until 2019, let me say. What do you think are going to be the main drivers for the profession in the years to come? How do you think that the specific wedding industry will evolve?
So I think that here in the US that we're realistically going to see most people immunized by the end of this summer. I wish I could say it was the beginning. And that we'll probably see lots of people keep not reschedule their late summer weddings. And then start into autumn, I think we'll have a massive year the following year because people will want to celebrate so much. And what's been interesting for me is to see how many people have found other revenue streams and have found other things to do to fill in, which may help them over the long run as well as there's been so much creativity. I think one thing we'll see in terms of couples is they'll be hesitant to be very ostentatious about their events. And so this happened in 2008. We had a huge crash in the market. And then what happened in the planners and the celebrity planners and all that is that people still were having these enormous events, but they all went to private estates. And sometimes they were a little bit more low key. And that kind of held out for about a year because right now people in the US, the rich are making huge amounts of money on the stock market and in various different ways, and other people aren't. So it kind of spurs that where like, we're sort of changing our venues and that kind of thing for a little while. I think it'll be a repeat of 2008 in some ways.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, where we are, it seems that a lot of people are just coming to reality that they can't have a 200-person wedding. So they've just filtered it down to their 20 to 60, whatever the rules are that they have to abide by. In terms of where the market is, I think that, other than next year or this year, it's going to be interesting how people create relationships before they get married, and whether there will still be a supply in terms of, supply and demand for weddings in 3-4 years time, simply because of COVID restrictions, just to network and to meet and to be in person and to develop relationships that way and have intimacy that way, rather than actually through phones and devices and swipes and so forth. So that's interesting data, project for someone to observe or teams to observe for 2023, 2024. But otherwise, I think a lot of it's just everybody's now in cruise control, just waiting for what they can and cannot do. But I believe that Blair is, very correct that people are just going to go wild as soon as they can. So, and they feel safe to do so.
Yeah, this feels a lot. It feels a lot like it did a year ago, where like it was just starting and everyone was like, "Is this going to be like 2 months or 3 months or 6 months?"
Yeah, it's over.
So we're kind of again at the same stage where is the vaccine going to roll out on such a big scale that in a few months everything will kind of go back to normal, or is it going to be another year and a half? It is so hard to say, but Also kind of what Blair was saying, you know, a lot of photographers have shifted to family photography and other types of photography, but we've seen a huge boom in family shoots coming through Image Salon. And I think it's because so many people are spending so much time at home, you know, with their families, and they finally have that time, and they want to, you know, invest into something that's going to last them a long time, which is family photography. Yeah. So the wedding industry, I think, is going to come back, you know, when the moment is right. But in the meantime, there's a lot of other opportunities photographers are creating for themselves.
That's been the same request for websites, family, boudoir, smaller events, elopements, still because you can travel in small amounts of people. That's kind of been the trend that we've seen, other than, of course, education online. So.
Yeah, I had some interesting conversations with some European photographers in the past year, especially last summer, where it seemed for a while, it seemed that it was possible to take pictures again, to get married again in an almost normal way, still with restrictions, but still feasible. And I noticed that for some reason, for a weird trick of destiny, under the assumption that after 10, 12 years, where the budget for photography into the bigger budget for a wedding was, you know, going down, down, and down, because other things, other topics seem more and more relevant to the new couples: venues, 3-star Michelin chefs, flowers, music, fireworks, whatever. So, but being the budget more or less the same, it seemed that the photography share was, you know, going down. On the other hand, ironically, so to speak, because venues can't be, they can't be an option right now, and fireworks, no, it's not a go, and not even the 3-star Michelin chef, because it would be a waste, basically. So it seemed that some of them were grabbing some good opportunities, meaning that finally they went back to being, let's say, more relevant to the couple. And you know better than me that some photographers, if not many, sometimes, you know, felt a little bit like, you know, in the corner and away from the bullseye. And quite rightly, the entire industry was trying to get back in shape, get back to the golden age. So is that something that you felt as well during past year? It was something that was happening. Do you think that this could be a thing, or maybe not?
Well, but what I can tell you is what I've seen is that this time have given us perspective.
Definitely.
We have diversified, we have adapted, we are a creative bunch. So we always, you know, figured it out.
That's great. That's
and then we are investing in ourselves even more and more, and have the time really to recreate, reinvent ourselves and gain perspective. So I think, answer the question to Luca. I think we're gonna be in a better shape. We're gonna adapt really, and we're gonna diversify. And I think it's gonna probably shift a little bit for the time, and we're gonna keep doing what we love really. But coming back to the part of the community, what I always taking notes of what you guys are saying, and I love it. So you mentioned something that the truthfulness to me is the foundation of all human virtues. Truthfulness. And then one of the topics today was about talking about truthful relationships, right? So I think this is so important, because that's the base really to have a community. Our first community is our family, right? That's the nucleus of our society. And then we have, you know, our neighborhood, and we have our different social circles, and then we have our community where we live, and then also the institutions around us, and then we have a city or an international, you know, community, you know. So, but we are part of this. Is like, I feel like as a human, we are actually wired this way. And I think it's so important that if we can find that community, that family everywhere we go, with friends, you know, or anybody. And you guys, all of you guys are part of that, or building that, have created that. I personally have seen you guys doing this, and I admire and I love what you have really bring to it in your personal level, in the business, but you have recognized how important it is to have these communities. And then also you mentioned something that is very important, that you know, you see these people and then you want to be part of it and connect with them because you see their heart. You say like who they are as a person, you know. And it's so important, the communication that this brings, how you connect and share information and really support each other. It becomes this support system, you know. And also really like how this shows how selfless actions, you know, no having an ego really help you to grow, because I think unity is the base to move forward, you know, in anything you do. You know, I feel like unity is something so important to have, and something that we all in a very high frequency thinking, you know, you can recognize, you know, how important this is for everybody and everything to move forward. One of the other things that I'm very curious about, you know, we all in different, in business or in personal, I would love to know through your career, we have ups and downs, and we want to also show to everybody, you know, that you guys are a person who have excelled in your field in many shapes and forms. So, but I want to know if you can give me a small story, a short story about like one time that things didn't go your way, like if you have an endeavor that really didn't work out the way you expected, or didn't happen really the way you thought it would be. But most important, what was the lesson behind it? Because I think those downs also are part of a process of growing, those you know, cycles of crisis and victories we all have, and those inflection points. And what was the lesson that you have recognized through those experiences? I don't know, the floor is open, you guys, you can, anybody.
Okay, I'll go.
You
Something popped into my mind right away when you said that, which was I've always kind of had a problem with having expectations of things, and I've been working on that through the years. But back, it's probably like 2013 or 2014, we booked a wedding in Bali, and I was like, "Whoa, Bali!" And my mind starts going crazy with all these, you know, visions of what it would be like, and we'll do these crazy portraits here and there, and it's going to be a wild party. And so as the as the wedding planning progresses, and we're like a month out from this trip, we have a phone meeting with the bride and groom, and the groom says, "Oh, just there has been a development you should probably know about. The bride will be 8 months pregnant at the wedding, so she's not going to be able to do that much." So first I'm like, okay, recalibrating. And then, which was totally fine, but it's just like, it's funny, the images you conjure up in your own mind from having expectations when you just should go with a blank slate and see how things develop. But anyways, we get there, and the wedding was fantastic and incredible until the last couple of hours when a crazy torrential storm passed through that we blogged about this if anyone remembers, but it literally brought the tent down. Water was pouring into the tent, dragging the tent down on top of guests. There were explosions from electronics catching fire. It was madness. And so everyone had to be evacuated to an indoor location. But we're like, oh my gosh, we won't, you know, this is, the photojournalists in us were excited in one way, because, you know, like crazy stuff's happening. But all of that to say, like, none of that went according to fantasy in my mind when we booked this wedding. Everything was the complete opposite, honestly. But that night was one of the best nights of my life. It ended with all of the vendors completely drenched, because we were soaked through, just on an open air dance floor dancing together, because it was like, what more can we do? There's nothing to save it at this point, just have fun. So yeah, I guess my lesson with all that is just, as hard as it is, like, don't have expectations of anything, and just let life surprise you, because usually the real thing that you don't even see coming will be way better than what's in your mind.
Yes, I love that. Being open, don't have expectations.
Yes.
Well said, Erin. That was beautiful.
Yes.
For us, it was a wedding in 2008. Everything went great, but when we delivered the photos, the bride quickly pointed out that there was no shot of her full body, head to toe, looking at the camera. The simplest photo that any photographer, should take, but we were so focused on building up our creative portfolio at the time, and we just kind of had the blinders on and didn't think about, all of the safer pictures that couples expect from us. And I'm grateful that that lesson came into just a couple of years of shooting and not, on year 10, 11, 12, because we were able to adjust our approach, early on, and all the weddings we did from there on, we always made sure to capture those simple photos for our clients because they carry a lot of importance for them, not just the beautiful creative stuff.
We've been there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. I'm guilty. Yeah. Yeah.
I think everybody has stories about things that have happened in their life. They're just like, talking about how to get into photography, that sometimes it's the worst losses, the worst challenges that actually sort of, when you look back at them, you see how they change the course of your life in these really phenomenal ways. And not to get too metaphysical, but for me, I just feel very much like anytime anything throws me off, I'm always looking for what's that silver lining. What was that thing? Why is it actually a miracle? And it generally turns out that way. It's just, the older I get, just the more flexible I get, because it actually works.
Yes, I love that.
Who else?
Well, I don't know if my experience is exactly what you're looking for, but a failure that I had, it was in 2008. Before that date, I was working with many other photographers. I had like an agency here in Valencia. We could cover different events. We had a lot of work, and suddenly this disappeared. And so that's the lesson, is that things are always changing. And for me, that was the opportunity to start in wedding photography. So I also must find a positive aspect in this crisis of 2008. And I think always when we have a failure, there is an opportunity to start growing again from there, from the failure, from the problem, and finding new ways to reach what is really matters to us. So that was my failure experience.
Mr. Huy, do you have ever had a failure, Mr. Huy?
Yeah, there are so many. Like, trying to think of
just one. We just need one.
Picking one, right?
Okay.
I'm trying to connect it to like I feel like I face them all the time, and my failure is, my continuing failure is that I don't know if I don't treat people well sometimes, and I'm trying. Sometimes I just end up saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing, and it's frustrating to always look back and go, well, I thought that was I thought I gotten better, or I thought I improved, or I've been learning. But when you look back, you always think, that was dumb. You shouldn't. Somebody points it out to me. Somebody who I'm married to points it out to me, and I see it, and you always see your mistakes in the past, and it's like So, but you're still making them because I don't know, because you are who you are. You always make mistakes, and you always look back, and I wish I could have fixed it. And I know that my goal is to treat people better and try to get an understanding of what's going on, and reconcile that with how I feel, and just to be more aware of human relationships and community. Again, that's my job. I think that's part of my job as a community leader. I am always thinking about that, and that's something I I think is my weakness. I want to work on, and I'm facing that all the time. Anyway, so continuous failure.
I just have to say that this is my favorite answer ever. I love that we. I mean, yours always been.
Yeah,
I adore you, and you.
I know.
So
He
really
is so kind. Always.
Like, you know, the conversations that we've had has just been so lovely because you're always so straightforward. Yeah, I can't even answer about failures. I just have so many. It's just, it's ridiculous. My life is just like tripping down the stairs all the time and then trying to run back up. So, but I just love your honesty, Huy.
Thanks, Blair.
Yeah, I don't think any of us plan for failure or mistakes. We seem to just keep coming along. And then you have to have some self-awareness to understand whether you want to choose to learn from them or continue to be a sucker for punishment. So just depends.
Yep.
I'm glad that in society, I feel like we're seeing more celebration of failure as opposed to, you know, some generations ago where failure was just not an option and it was unacceptable by our parents. You know, now I think it's more talked about openly, and everybody fails. We all have failures. You know, we're all laughing about it here, but it's because it's something that we all share in common, and bring in another 12 people, you know, to this call, and they're also going to have failures to talk about. So it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's part of the experience of being human, and let's just celebrate and learn from them.
It's not a sign of weakness. So
yeah, exactly. Yes. Well, if anybody else wanna share something else related to some experience that haven't gone so well, but well, just in the meantime, I just want to, based on the notes that I'm taking from you guys, you know, beat the touch is huge, right? Like, don't being attached, like Erin was saying, having the expectation and having the ability of seeing yourself, you know, in a third person perspective. So you're not just being reacting, you know, you are actually being proactive about the reality you wanna build in, and then you self-reflect and you increase your self-awareness. And then when you are aware, you see it, then you can affect it, right? Because you're not totally in control, but at least you see it coming, you understand the dynamics. Therefore, you are better prepared to respond to this in a more mature way, even if it's sometimes assimilating this and kind of, you know, make it, you know, go with the flow. But it's having that detachment of yourself. It helps you to see yourself and see what it is, without just being, you know, cutting yourself into the reaction of it, the immediate reaction. Usually that first reaction is not like the most the best way to react. So I think that for what I'm taking notes of what you guys are saying, you know, it's beautiful to see that this reflection, you know, appreciating, finding these simple things and understanding that it's not about you. You know, when Daniel was saying, I was taking these photos, you know, for it's X, Y crazy thing for myself, but really when you have to detach from yourself and say this for them, you know, for what I'm doing, you know, and it's a job, and respecting and understanding this photograph or whatever we are creating, we're giving, is not about us really, it's about them, you know? So that's it's a big thing, you know, when you really get over yourself and then you perform in a more detached way, you know. And I think that's without any expectation or trying to just make things happen your way. I mean, just be prepared, understanding that that will happen. And yeah, it's amazing that we are more and more as a society aware that this is not like a competition of feeling weak or you know, above anybody. Just really it's a human experience, you know, and everybody is a different way to, you know, reflect that light, but we all have it, you know. Don't want to be too metaphysical. Somebody else. Well, actually, the next question I had, it was about that, about like, what about when everything goes your way? Like, what about when you say like, oh my God, I put everything and then actually things work out? you guys have one of those when, when things go very well? And tell me a little bit about how this happened and what was the factor that make things happen well? What do you think was this virtue that you apply that you recognize or develop through experience, that you did put the effort, you planned for it, probably you systemize your systematic effort, and you finally see a result? What was this? Anybody, please, anybody.
Typically, no, go ahead.
Is it luck? Is it lucky?
The plan is lined up.
Things work out, that it succeeds beyond your expectations, that it's wow, this thing works. People, I don't know, because I guess what I'm thinking is there are things that you do, and you set yourself up for success, and you think that you've done everything right, and you've done everything the same as last time, or same formula, or the same resources, and it's not as good, and it doesn't work as well. And something else that is similar works well. So because of the circumstances, or the timing, or the people involved, or luck, I don't know. I'll just leave it at
humble,
that.
man. You're very humble.
I mean, luck is a huge piece, right? And then I think the other thing is, just being so driven by your passion, your excitement, that you're willing to take risks, which might seem crazy to others. I think the thing that one of my funny stories that a lot of people here were actually at this party that I'll tell you about. So in Vegas, I had Junebug weddings in Seattle, and I wanted to take it international. And I knew that in order to do that I would need to meet these people who were the cutting edge people in the industry at the time. So I went to WPPI and I rented this giant skyloft luxury studio, luxury apartment at the top of the MGM Grand. And I started inviting people like Jerry Guiones and Davina and Daniel and the Chrismans and we, and, as I just started inviting all these people who are huge influencers in the market. And I had been a caterer for many, many years. And I thought that, okay, what I'll do is I'll just put together this great spread. I'll buy a bunch of booze. Everything's good. So people start writing back, which I'm like almost in tears because they're all my icons, right? I'm like, oh my God, they're coming to the party. It's so exciting. So I get up there and I start to bring this booze into there. And they say, I'm sorry, you can't bring any food or booze into this apartment at all. Zero. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, but you can get this party catered. That's the only way we're going to allow all these people up. And here's our catering menu. So I end up putting $32,000 on my American Express card that I don't have in any way, shape, or form. I mean, and my team was crying in the elevator. They were like, you can't do this. Oh my God. And I was like, if you're going, you got to go big or go home. Like, that's it. The biggest people in there. So we had this party with French waiters and all this stuff. And that's how I met all these people to begin with. And it turned into so many relationships, and so many people met each other at that party. And the next day when they were posting it and how they'd been there. And it just started this whole cascade of people that I know. And when I look back at the best marketing decisions I ever made, it was that. And it was literally made in a split second of panic. Wow. And I think that kind of thing sometimes, where you just know, I feel myself going, right? I'm like, I can feel it happening. Things are going, you got to just get in there. And then that's when you also need your friends around who are crying to give you a counterbalance. So you can go, all right, this might not be such a good idea. But I just think, I bet you everybody's got some deal where, everybody said, that's a little too risky. And they just went and did it anyway. And it paid off because they were so passionate. They just weren't going to let it fail.
Yeah, that's an amazing story.
I
Oh,
will just
man.
add that, like, shooting with Ben is interesting because he doesn't like to plan anything. He's a fly by the seat of his pants guy. I like to plan everything. I'm like the big planning nerd. And so like Davina and Daniel, I know you guys scout a lot, and I'm always like, we need to be like them. Like, we need to scout for these big portraits that we want to take at weddings. And he's like, no, we're just going to see how it feels in the moment. So the couple of times I've done weddings on my own without him, I have like scouted and planned out all my shots. And I would say that did save me at, you're talking about a time when things went right. That saved me at a wedding where in Turks and Caicos, where it basically got all rained out. We couldn't do any like really pretty beach portraits. All the portraits were inside. And it was all these places that I had Morgan Rossi with me shooting. We had planned it all out the day before and just found little interesting spots. And so, but that being said, I think it's like totally fine to be a planner. I think it's good to have a plan, but be cool with throwing it out at the last minute. So that's how I like to work the best. Like, have it all down, but like, it's okay if you don't use it. So at least you got a backup just in case.
Right. How many backups do you have?
One stream of shots I want to do that I'll probably not do.
Yes, true. It's true.
Dario, Mauricio, I need to make my apologies, but I have a family engagement.
It's okay.
I need to pick up a young lady, my daughter. So I would like to prevent that I'm in delay with her. Is it okay if I leave?
Of course,
Yes,
Luca,
thank you,
of
Mr.
course.
Luca. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks to everybody. All of you.
Thank
you,
Thank you,
and
Luca.
look forward to hearing from you again soon. Thank you.
Of
Thank
course. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right.
So I don't know if you guys want to talk a little bit more about like those stories that you have, the success stories. But so far, you guys have mentioned trust your gut. Like I remember Ben always say that as well. He's like, you have to trust yourself. You know, you have to take risks. You have to have faith. When luck, is one way to phrase it, but you guys are blessed. In a way, you guys are recipients or reflecting, this good, intention as well. The energy you put into it, you put the effort, like Erin was saying, you plan for it, you do your best, and then you trust yourself, and then you have faith that things will happen, and then you don't, attached to a specific outcome, but you really have an idea, a structured idea that what you're looking for. So, going back to the, when you start writing your plan, if it's your business plan, if it's, your projection or whatever you have to do, the marketing plan, etc., or building a new networking, local or internationally, however you want to do, you do that, and then you try your best. You don't get tired, you do what you love, and then you keep moving forward. And with a good mindset, a good positive attitude, through all these things, it comes the faith and the blessings that you might have at the end of the day. And trust that feeling, that's inside thing, that thing that play you. When I'm in personal life, when I'm taking photos, for example, like I don't like to go back after a wedding or something with regrets, I don't like to go back home with regrets, with saying like, oh, I didn't do that thing that I thought that doing. And I always push myself to try one more time, a little bit more, a little bit harder, whatever it is, when I feel proud about at the end of the day, which I never do, but proud about of what I end up with, and that's a big thing. So, yeah.
So there's already so much to think about. I mean, it's been amazing so far. I'm just watching and listening. I'm speechless. And I think that here and there, because all these positive and negative episodes, let's say negative, because in reality, all of you have stressed quite a few times that even those things that were supposed to be negative or anyway something harder than planned turn out to be a good opportunity, which is all about the mindset we have when we approach life in every aspect. So But going through your career, it means also speaking about longevity. And longevity is another keyword that we have identified with Mauricio. And so what, how would you define that in your personal point of view as humans? So longevity, what does it mean for you as a photographer?
As a business or in personal relationships, what are the key components to have this, to achieve this longevity? Being in your business, I mean, you've been, each of you guys in the different ways, business have been around for more than, I mean, at least more than 10 years. So this is very interesting. Like, what are the elements to have make them last, that you have identified? Take your time.
I like to compare it to like being like a snake that sheds its skin, every year or every season. I'm not sure what frequency they do it, but just recognizing that you need to shed away the old and emerge as like this new improved version. And that applies, I think, to your personal life, to your business as a business entity, and to your photography approach. Just always trying to evolve and not be stagnant.
Yeah, it's that famous book, Who Moved My Cheese, from years ago. It's like, you just got to be ready to roll with the changes. And, for the longest time, we were very snobby about, we only shoot weddings. And when we brought in all the other types of work 5 years ago, we were just kind of dipping our toe in those waters. But thank goodness we did that, because that's what saved us in this pandemic, not being able to shoot weddings. Sorry, Ross, what were you going to say?
No, I mean, I see everything as more gamification, because when you get started, it's like level 1, and you have this theory that as you continue to do things, it gets easier. And in many ways, every time you want that next bigger project, that more complicated event, that new client, or whatever pillar vertical you're looking for, and each time you do it, you feel more and more unprepared, but you also feel more and more equipped to take it on. So you kind of, it's reverse engineering. You want more, but then when you get more, many times you feel that you want to reverse out of it, because it's sometimes just very overwhelming. But at the same time, it's achievement. And longevity in terms of that is, I mean, a lot of people use sustainability, but it's not growth. Sustainability you get to, and then you have to completely take risks to have growth. And I think that's where the uncomfort comes for a lot of creatives. And, going back to, some of the earlier, questions around what to do during this time with like pricing and so forth, with the value, that's a business question, because most creatives don't think business. And because of that, you need some pioneers that are going to do dynamic pricing, to test, to explore, to see if they can create value again, rather than be just another vendor, service provider. Because it's the same in hardware, it's the same in, being in design or in IT. The more people in it, the more of a commodity it becomes. And so you have to adapt constantly. What we could charge 3-4 years ago in IT, we have to change now all the time. So it's whatever market you're in, you just have to always know how important are the trends providing. And for example, one great thing around the last season and the last year is that new opportunities have created. So an abundance mindset in that, and also having a very attentive mindset to see what's changing, what's allowed. A lot of people say you can't do anything, and they have a victim mindset towards it, but actually rules are there. Even with quote unquote no rules, there are still opportunity and options to work. The question is whether you want to choose to change because you need it for your family or for income and you're forced into that, or whether you want to stick it out and wait for the seasons because you refuse to try and dibble dabble and be diversified. So in all ways, that's basically what longevity is, from different things. Because I've had 100-person plus IT team, and also 15, 20, and just scaled up and down through the years, depending on switching from service to SaaS to product, back and forth. And either way, lets you everything just keeps going on anyway. But that's where we've gotten to, and at least from my experience and from a lot of peers that I've learned from, that's what I've learned from them.
Mm-hmm.
If I can just bring this into the world of wedding photography, I think it applies. It applies in the form of always curating our work and our portfolios to make sure that they are the best that they can be, and those two should never be stagnant. That's something that Davina and I put a lot of time and effort into over the years as photographers. And we were ruthless in the images, that we selected for our slideshows, for our blog, for our portfolios. It was really only to showcase the absolute best, even if there was, other good images from other weddings. If they were too similar to something that we had a better version of, like we would leave it out, like it just wouldn't make the cut. And the idea there was to only show the very best, which would hook the client. Because we would stand out from a sea of photographers. I think it's become so competitive, and there's so many photographers who are so good now. It really comes down to what we show. So if we only show the very best, we have a better chance of standing out. And we would still share our full galleries so that clients felt confident in hiring us, and they knew that we knew how to photograph the other 1,000 images that we had during the wedding day. But yeah, this whole curation process is really important in the evolution as a photographer.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so right, because I'm going to just speak to, rather than my own career, just people that I work with. So at World's Best, I do a lot of consulting, all the way from building websites with a partner of mine, writing, curating, all those kinds of things, and have just had most of my career has been spent looking kind of behind the scenes of photographers' businesses. And the thing that I see is I've seen so many trends come and go. And what I see is new photographers will start and they sort of glom onto what is this trend that's happening right now. And they're not really looking to find their distinctive voice. And so like finding that voice that's really you and that looks right, like all your processing's the same, all that sort of the artistic voice of it looks cohesive, that you can stand on and will stand the test of time. But what I see is people get nervous and they like, oh, I'm going to go to this look because that's what's cool right now. It's really hard to create an art, be an artist, if you don't have something that is just authentically you. And so that's what I'm always trying to help people find, is when I first start doing curation for their portfolios, what is that voice that comes out? And sometimes I'll find people are really trying hard to be photojournalists when actually they're like amazing portrait photographers, or they have this other kind of look that they're really doing, or vice versa, right? And so then you see it and you're like, what are your very, very favorite photos? Not the ones you think like, oh, here's 100, but what is the ones that really speak to you? And often there's like little kernels of what's going to happen there. What will stand the test of time for their work. So I think that's the one thing, like, I don't see that the Chrismans have ever changed their look. I don't see that Davina and Daniel have done that. I don't see that Callaway Gable's done that. I mean, when I think of people, Gabe McClintock, he's been shooting the way that he shoots. That's his thing, right? And so that's stood there and it's made the longevity. The other thing is customer service, and getting back to relationships is all about customer service. Because what you want to do as a photographer is move from having to market yourself into having so many referrals that you're giving them to your friends. And the way that happens is that people fall in love with you, right? Because you support them and you really like care about them. And one of the things I saw a few years ago is there were a lot of people coming to me who are saying, I'm not going to shoot portraits, I'm not going to shoot group shots, I'm not going to do this thing because I'm an artist and I don't want to. And what I'd have to tell them is that that's great, you can be an artist, but this is a customer service business. And the first thing that you have to do is make your clients love you. And then you can do whatever you want after that. So I think that never stops. And that's just so fundamentally important. And then keeping things fresh. You can't just have a 10-year-old website and then people go to it and they think, okay, well, you're not in it. You're just not in the game, right? So it's always that refreshing as well.
Yeah, and so tied into what you're saying, Blair, I think it's like, to achieve longevity in this business, you have to stay hungry all the time. Like, you can never get to a point where you think your career is secure and you've got it in the bag. Because as we've learned, things can change so quickly. And I've always thought like things can be, and we all know things can be taken away from us in an instant. And then definitely includes our careers. Things change too quickly. So we do actually have a 10-year-old website. So it's funny that you said that. Mauricio and I and Ben worked on that during the first 4 or 5
about to launch.
You have a new one coming.
That's what we've been doing during the lockdown. So yeah, you're absolutely right. You have to stay fresh, and you have to, it's like that permission to be the beginner, like be the beginner over and over again, and never assume that you're secure. Stay hungry.
Yeah, I'll chime in with relevance, because one thing that I see right now, because data and everything is like is almost resetting with what you can photograph in the wedding space specifically. So if you have great work, which everyone has mentioned, a lot of names here do, and it's consistent and it's been timeless in terms of it's an evolved aesthetic look that people have created. If you have those images, best of, but they are for a type of wedding that you cannot book in the near future, and your plan is to book now rather than in 2-3 years time, when larger weddings, for example, could be, or specific international travel is not really possible, specifically because a lot of people are going across Europe to US and vice versa, and it's not really realistic, then I feel that, at least from a lot of clients that we have tweaked and recommended to change their content and update their portfolio, not based on just keeping the best work, but filtering it based on relevance to times, then it's changed how inquiries have came and what's reality, because clients who may not know the before and the after and the future of your work can automatically see relevance directly. So that's what we have fireworks next door. So Eastern Europe. So
I just want to be clear that what I meant by that their work hadn't changed in that time is that the first time I saw it, I was blown away by it, and I'm still blown away by it every day. But that what I meant by that is the highest flattery of that it was always the distinctive voice, right? And nothing, you guys never changed for a trend or like all of a sudden jumped somewhere sideways. You stayed with your gut and what your studio is about. Yeah. So that's clarified. That's what I meant by that.
No, I got that, and I'm a strong believer in that as well. So I'm right there with you.
Okay. Because then you were like, oh, my website's well.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
So many valid points, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So, okay, longevity. So, so I want to say that I know this is a time of survival for many photographers and many businesses. So I know sometimes we just have to do what we have to do to have income, to make money, to make a living. But if your situation allows, or in a perfect world, or when the world changes, and we have the freedom to be able to do things, I think it's important to structure your life or your business to where you want to wake up every morning excited about what you're going to do, right? So longevity is about waking up and being excited about doing something, whether that something is what you've done all the time or something new or something different or something scary. It just keeps you going. It keeps you going. It keeps you refreshed. And I know that, it's not possible because we have obligations that we have things we have to do. We can't just be wild and free all the time and do what we want to do. But if you can, go for it. Try to set up something new, do something different, or do more of something that you like to do or that you want to pursue, and keep yourself going. Wake up, get a coffee, and get going.
I like that. Martin?
I agree very much with what just said Huy. To every day wake up and be excited. I think it's the best way to ensure this longevity. And I think also this maybe can be achieved when we started our career as photographers. I think we all had something in mind, or for at least I had this thing, and I realized it was so important to me. When I found out, I thought about wedding photography, that okay, I will go for this, but I want to be the best wedding photographer. But when I was saying this, I intended the best version of myself as a wedding photographer. I was wanted to be able to leave every other thing out and just concentrate and try to be really give it all. And so this is also something that gave to me a lot of satisfaction. But also, I think if we are talking about longevity, also we have to talk about adaptation and flexibility. No, because things changes ourselves, we are always changing. And so I'm not the same photographer I was 10, 15 years ago. But at the same time, it's interesting when we look back to our work, if we find again something, okay, we can see a picture we took maybe 12 years ago and say, okay, that's a shit about a technique and maybe I could do better this and that. But still there's something I like in this picture. I think that's a good signal that you're doing something in a line. No? So just wanted to add this.
Thank you, Martino.
Thank you, Martino. Yeah. Yes. Wow. This is amazing. So it's great that we're looking at approaching this concept through photography, because I feel through photography you can know yourself. Once you know yourself, you realize who you are and feel comfortable in your skin, but at the same time allow yourself to grow. Because I feel like growing and adapting yourself is part of the same process. And you would not do this, I feel, if I believe, if you don't detach from that also path or behavior. So and all these ingredients have to be, all constantly being fueled with excitement, with that, with the reason why. If you know yourself, you know why you do things. And a more really specific point of view that really come down to, once you know this part that is the inside, now you go to the outside, and then you think about how to portray yourself, the best version of yourself, and how do you take care of their community, which are your clients really. At the end, also, like as a photographer, we as Chrisman Studios have seen this happening, like how we go to the engagement session, to the wedding, to the kids, the anniversary, like you become part of this family. And then they also share you with their people because they trust you. You really build a relationship, so you can really diversify them and then grow as a business as well through all this process, understanding like they taking care of the image that you have as a brand, but as well feeling comfortable with adapting yourself, and most important, I feel like being excited. Like you have to have fun. To go on the long run, you have to be fun. Otherwise, you don't take that one. Yesterday, I was talking with Shagun, my friend from Nigeria, and he was saying this: like, if you wanna go get there fast, you go alone. But if you wanna get there in a long term, you go together. Walk alone, you go together. You don't do it by yourself. So having this, again, going back to community, also I feel like helps to have a longevity. If you go really with a group that really support you, so I think that element also really helps to build this longevity. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm amazed because adapting but staying true to yourself, changing skin, like a snake, we said, but also and diversifying, therefore, but also, like you said at the beginning, going for trustful relationship.
Yeah.
At the same time, so you might, it's an incredible journey.
Yeah.
And how incredible it is as a photographers, as in the photography industry, going through this amazing journey, no matter what's going on out there, but going through your clients, other people's stories.
Yeah,
that's something that really amazed me.
Yeah.
So like you said, it might be a therapy, it might be a group therapy like today, or a personal path, we never know, but yeah, being excited, trying to push the limit, but then again, stay grounded. So it's a great blend. And all of you represents.
No, I feel like, for example, this is a perfect example, right? Like the fact that we're here and we are speaking with each other is because we are connected and we are part of a community.
Definitely.
So this is a good example, like for everybody, that this network that we have is because of that. Because I feel like we are in tune somehow with a good vibe, you know?
Yeah, indeed. And so, you know what? I can't thank you enough for sharing your stories and you know, the troubles and also the successful ones. It's been a great journey.
Yeah, I just want to ask you guys if you want to you know, plug something or just let everybody else know. It's gonna be in Imagine USA and broadcasted also on many social networks. And so we will be, if you guys would love to, you know, let people know about what you guys are doing now, what's next, you know, or invite them to do something with you guys, you know, you're welcome. The floor is open for you guys. If no, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Love
Muchas
you
gracias.
Thank you. It's been amazing. Thank you very much.
It's been fun. It's been fun.
Fun?
Really fun. Nice to see you.
Thank you guys.
So thank you so much, really, to all of you, and thank you to our audience today for being with us. It's been a great journey, as I said, and I'm sure that many will think twice, 3 times to what you have said and shared with us so kindly today. Mauricio, thank you for being with us
thank you, Daddy.
in these talks. There will be more graphy talks in the upcoming future. So let's stay tuned with the Imaging USA 2021 virtual show and the live from Castel Cecconi. And my friend, I wish you all the best for this new year and see you soon. You know, around for new stories and new adventures, new concepts and new ideas. Share the love.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Very much.
Thanks so much.
Ciao.